Hey, Janet. Looks like just you and me here, right? So far. So what'd you think of my little story? Hey, Jaden, welcome in. I decided to just go ahead and go live about a minute early. Was it hard to find this live, or if you're subscribed, does it pop up for you after the premiere? I was just curious. I think maybe I need more subscribers before YouTube starts promoting this channel, so that you can find it easier. I mean, even I have a hard time finding it. So I'm looking for feedback. What'd you think of the premiere and what I had to say? Don't everybody speak at once, right? Charlie just came in. He's making raspberry jam. We're picking every other day. What about
a couple of quarts
every day of raspberries?
I just put up 6 pints.
6 pints of
that's
raspberry jam tonight.
About half of them. I'll do another 6 tomorrow night, maybe.
Yeah, he says he's making 6 more tomorrow night. I might go ahead and put some hot peppers in it tomorrow. I like putting jalapenos or something even hotter in the fruit jams. So, come on, you guys, just let's sit there and go ahead and talk about what you think of my story of my heart attack.
Trying to find the channel.
We lost Jaden. Maybe we didn't. Maybe he's back.
What's the name of your channel?
My husband's asking me what is the name of the channel.
It's
I Died NDE, babe.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, but I can't find it.
Well, you need to subscribe so you get the notifications. So anyone who's watching, I'm back down to 1. So I think Jaden's popping in and out. Or people are popping in and out. Falling off the edge of the shelf, maybe. I don't know.
Got the other side NDE.
Well, I know they're coming, honey. It's just, this is hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Janet? You think people are just lost and looking for us? I hear you. Janet's putting it up on the computer. Yeah, I only do this on a desktop computer so I can type. I can't text to save my life. And then my phone changes what I say anyway into some of the most ridiculous things. It'd be funny, but, I end up insulting people. There you are. You still here, Jaden? Only what's going to happen. That's interesting. Tell us about it, Janet. Premonitions? I have premonitions all the time. And if I have the premonition more than once, then it happens. Otherwise, I chalk it up to a dream. But if it's a repeated thing, it happens. It's throughout my life that has happened again and again. But this experience, it wasn't necessarily people from our congregation that I recognized as people from our congregation, but I recognized the ethnicity and the food that they were eating and the prayers that they were saying, and then the children running around celebrating the festivities in the evening. What are you saying? Oh, he's loving on the cat.
Cat's loving on me.
So I want to hear about it, Janet. Tell me about something you've seen visions of happening that came
You ready
true.
to go out? Let me get up so I can put the other cat out. Come on.
Don't be shy. Okay, I was about 12. I was about 12. I started having dreams. The first one was super weird. I was working in the restaurant where I worked with my mom, and someone had cut up their hamburger into little pieces. What was it? Anything past that they were cutting up their hamburger? And tell us a little bit more. A couple of weeks later, it actually happened. The person who gave me the hamburger had a child, which made it make more sense. That's about right. Yeah. Yeah, I've had deja vu. In fact, I had one earlier today.
Let's try that.
Because we're not able to go to our weekend farmers markets, I have thousands of seedlings, and someone came today to buy some pepper seedlings from me, and then I'm like, I've been here before with this person I'd never met. It was a weird feeling.
There we go.
Hey y'all, Lisa here with I Died, near-death experience as I died. But then I had another dream where the mom ended up having a car accident. I was so scared. My grandpa prayed with me that the dreams would stop. But I didn't have a way to get in touch with that person, and she did have the car accident. Was she hurt? That is scary. Have you tried to develop, because it's a skill to develop, that you can develop these premonitions? She was hurt but lived. That's a good thing that she lived, not that she was hurt. Yeah, I kind of resisted my paranormal experiences and try to, bury them in my psyche and ignore them. But then I guess in my late 30s, early 40s, the newspaper I was working for asked me to write a series on the paranormal. I was a religion reporter, is my niche. Or niche, if you want to say it that way. And we had a conference in Fort Lauderdale, a paranormal conference coming up. So they wanted a series of stories leading up to the event that talked about the types of things that you would see there. And I am an empath. And through those series of stories, I came to the conclusion, why resist this? This is a gift and a curse at the same time. And because I had several people I interviewed tell me that I was an empath, it had me realize that the reason I was so good at interviewing people for the stories I was working on was because I was empathic and I was connecting on another level. So it's like I knew things about people just by meeting them. And some things were scary, some things weren't. But during an interview, I would know where to take certain questions or certain topics because of my empathic ability. Yeah. Why are so many feelings, so many feelings are inside your head? Yeah, well, mine was a little bit deeper than that. I could kind of tell what someone was going to say before they said it. And then and talk about being able to have a really good BS meter. When I was interviewing politicians, I knew what they were saying was full of, and because I have no shame, I would go ahead and confront them sometimes and would shock the heck out of them. My BS meter is usually pretty spot on. To a fault. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. People sometimes ask me, how do you know if someone's lying to you? And my standard reply to that is, how do I know if someone's lying? Their mouth is moving. Sad, but that's pretty true, especially with politicians. Yeah, it's something that you need to develop. And if you make friends with someone who's a psychic, psychics who just have developed their empathic abilities. And some may coach you on how to tap into it. Yeah, that Janet's saying her friend from Atlanta is going into a manic episode without any communication. She can tell we are connected to people we know and love, and sometimes people we don't love. It's like when someone you haven't seen for months or years, and all of a sudden you can't get them out of your head, and the phone rings and it's them. Have you ever had that happen? I'm glad you finally made it, Suzanne. I think people have trouble finding this channel, and hopefully people will start subscribing so they at least get the notifications. Even I have trouble getting in here. Yep, my friend in Indianapolis will show up at the same place at the same time thinking about each other. You're connected. You're connected. I think one of the stories I've told here on this channel was did I talk about knowing when my grandmother died? Y'all remember? Have you seen all my premieres? It's only been 3 premieres, right? Yeah, it could serve you well. I've been able to predict future events, and some were good, some were scary. I'll be telling those stories. Yeah, I can't remember whether I've told the story. I might as well do it now, and I'll do it again as a premiere. Hopefully, more people will come listen. But my grandmother was not a nice person. And would you say that's a fair thing to say, Charlie?
Yeah.
She tormented me most of my childhood. She moved in after my father died when I was 5 years old, and then punished me for having to give up her job to come raise me when my mother went back to work. She would do things like she'd get angry with me for something minor, like let's say I was eating a piece of toast and part of it dropped on the floor, and she'd get really mad that I was making a mess. And she would say things like, go look out the door. The men in the white coats are going to come get you. Well, that reference was my dad when he had his coronary. I was with him. I was 5 years old. And in the 1960s, they didn't have really good EMTs. And when the EMTs came, it was in like a station wagon. It was a white station wagon with a red cross on it. And they had white jackets. And they came in to the house and made Dad walk down 3 flights of stairs and then out the front door. And instead of putting him on a gurney, they made him walk down a steep hill to the car. And I kind of followed him out the door and watched them load him into the car. It was a real foggy morning with the sun just coming up. And I remember the car turning around and watching the taillights fade in the mist. And he never came home. So to torment me when my grandmother was displeased with me, she would say, I'm calling the men in the white coats, go look for him. And I would stand and look out the window or the door for hours. Made him walk, right? He didn't survive it. He was only 40 years old. So and that's not the only thing she did. I'll go into more detail on the things she did when I tell the story for a premiere. Okay, so you got to tune in, right? But my husband and I were at a banquet. We used to show horses, and it was a banquet celebrating everyone's show year. It was in Montgomery, Alabama. My grandmother lived with my mother still, and they were in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're sitting there enjoying our food and listening to all the speeches people were given. And all of a sudden I had this feeling of utter relief. I mean, it's like you'd been holding your breath underwater and to the point where your lungs were going to burst, and all of a sudden you could breathe. This feeling of relief just flooded me. And I turned and I looked at Charlie and I said, Grandma just died. I'm willing to bet Grandma just died. I am so relieved. Isn't that awful? When we got home, this is in the days long before cell phones, our phone was ringing and I picked it up. And before my mother even said anything, I said, she's dead, isn't she? Mom says, yeah, don't sound so happy. So how's that for premonition or being connected? Oh, it gets worse from there, Janet. I mean, she did. So you felt that when your mom passed, Suzanne, did you have a good relationship with your mom? I hope you did. Yeah. A couple of months later, Mom was going through Grandma's stuff, putting stuff into charity that she could and seeing what she wanted to keep out of her jewelry and things like that. And Grandmom was in the generation where they kept a journal. They journaled everything. And she found her journal and started reading it. And it was the middle of the night and the phone rang. And it was my mother in tears, begging me to tell her that she wasn't a bad mom. Please tell me that I wasn't a bad mom. Because my grandmother documented all the things she had done to me and told my mother stories so my mother would punish me too. And my mother was hysterical as she read this journal. So now you know why I'm so weird, huh? So I'll tell that story in more detail This is what happens when you abuse children. What happens? But back to my heart attack. What do you all think of the vision of these people? I mean, I felt the love. I felt the vibe. And do you believe that it was God letting me know that? Who knows where they come from? Who knows where you're? I think maybe we all have the ability to be empaths. We just suppress it, is my theory. Because were you kind of taught from early childhood that, you know, what you're seeing in your imaginary friends and things were your imagination? And they weren't real, so we learned to suppress those things, right? Was it God? Maybe. Well, when I tell my big near-death experience, which I guess I better do just in case I died before I get the chance to tell you about it. Charlie's laughing, but
oh, you have plenty more of them.
Charlie thinks I'll have plenty more of them, but you know, we never know. And on my other channel during the live broadcast, I will tell everyone at the end of the live that tell people that you love them every day. You may not get another chance. And this experience with me thinking I was having an asthma attack and they did bypass, bypass, they lift your heart out of your body totally and rewire it and put it back in. I could have died. If I hadn't said I love you to Charlie before they wheeled me into surgery, I may not have gotten another chance. Think about that, huh? Yes, Suzanne. Well, I really am going to have to tell you my story, my near-death experience, because it's all about energy and love. Or just the energy and their love coming to you. And yes, Suzanne, it was just what I needed. And I can see it in my mind just as clear as if I just had the vision. The colors that they were wearing in their holiday outfits, the smell of the food, the shrill, giggly screams of the children that were chasing each other around. And in the background, the prayers, the chanting prayers. And I don't know if you've ever heard Islamic prayers or calls to prayer, but it's if they get going correctly, it's kind of a low level, kind of a hum that you feel as well as you experience with your senses. And I could feel that most definitely. But the love is really what I felt. So you've been in a mosque during the call to prayer. Yay! Hey, Mike. What did you think of the call to prayer? Hopefully the guy doing the ad, it's called an adhan. Hopefully he had a good voice. Some of the people doing the call to prayer don't always have the most melodic voice. I used to be involved a lot with interfaith programs. I haven't done a lot of interfaith here in Atlanta, but in South Florida, I was networked in with a group called JAM, which stood for Jews and Muslims, who got together once a month to share about their faith and share experiences and build bridges. Gave you chills like your vision did. Yes. Janet, the call to prayer has been known to make people cry who hear it for the first time and don't understand the Arabic, of course, but it's been known to bring people to their knees. It really is a magical thing to hear. And then some of us are called to find out what it means. And that kind of opens the door to other things for us. Y'all want me to? I'm going to look for a link. That's the best call to prayer I've ever heard. Here it is. It's easy to find. All right. When you get a minute, if you want to understand what we're talking about with that emotional feeling that you feel when you hear the Arabic, here's your link. It's a YouTube link. I don't think I've heard that story, Mike. So I don't know, someday if you want me to talk about my conversion story, my spiritual journey, which I haven't ended yet, I'm still searching. Well, that's part of the real big I died NDE story that I'll have to do for next time. I think it's going to be emotional for me to record it, so be prepared for me to choke up when I begin talking about it. But it, yeah, it's real personal and heartfelt, and it took me a long time to be able to talk about my near-death experience with other people, because I was like, people are going to think I'm absolutely out of my mind. And every now and then I would share my story and people would start crying and say, we had the same experience. And that led me to join some support groups of people who had died. And you know what? Just about everybody had the same story. There were so many similar stories and shared experiences and shared conclusions that, I've had people since then tell me it would be a service to people to talk about it. And through my stories, if I can bring comfort to someone facing death or who had lost someone or had died and come back like I did, if I can give you comfort and give you hope, then I've done my job, right, on earth. Because we should be comforting each other, I think, and sharing our humanity. Yeah, shared conclusions. I don't understand this. I had third visit of the day of a duck couple. What's that about, Mike? Yeah, Janet, shared conclusions. And stories that were very similar. Now, what's interesting is some of the perceptions that were the same experience, but defined in slightly different themes, I think are impacted by your religious upbringing. But you'd be surprised on how similar people's stories are across faith and ethnicity. And we'll talk about that when I tell the story. Now you want to hear the story, don't you? Ducks have been visiting Mike. Now, Mike, I watch your videos when they pop up on my screen. I don't remember any ducks, mallards. Squirrel knocked on my door, went out, and a drake and mallard duck walked up to me. Now Mike and I, y'all, we talked through email. What did I tell you about animals and why that happens to you, Mike? You share people what I said? I think as much as your body has been through, I'll let you take your time to tell us the story. The initial near-death, the big story, it's going to have an episode all to itself, and it will probably be a rather long premiere. And be prepared for me to be sobby, teary for the live chat afterwards. It's all recorded.
How much head rubbing can you take?
You look like a pushover, Mike. Oh, I tell him that animals know. They know the good people. And, you may have heard that if animals or small children don't like somebody, step away, because children haven't suppressed those instincts like adults have. And of course, animals don't suppress their instincts. So if small children and animals like you, there's a reason. And if they don't like you, there's a reason. Yeah. So I'd like to know. Your neighbor's dog hates the man across the road. I told her she should listen. Absolutely. Absolutely. The neighbor may have intentions that aren't good. So is your hubby a good person? I mean, I know that's a loaded question. Of course, you're going to say yes, but is he one of those people that are warm and welcoming and caring? Yeah, I'm the person, wherever I go, people think I work there. And if children are lost, they come straight to me and they cling to my legs. They come to me for help. I work part-time at the Home Depot, and lost kids are always walking up to me. They walk past all the other people who work there, and they come to me and ask to find their mom. Got a lot of people, if you hear that dinging, they're answering my ad on Facebook for Scotch bonnets for sale. Hey, Tiffany, you'll have to put this on replay. Welcome. PM, he's a real asshole. I call him rude names. Is that your neighbor? Not my husband. So you see what I'm saying is true, right, Janet? I bring out the bad in all children. Someone just told me this week. That's because I make them feel safe being themselves, and I'm still crying about it. Little boys love me because I like gross things. And for some reason, little boys think fart noises are really funny. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. But when I see little boys, if they're a little bit puddly or cranky, I'll look at them and say, want to see something neat? And I go, can you hear that? Their farty noise. I had to learn to do that because all the boys on the school bus on the way to school were doing the armpit farts, and I was starting to grow breasts, so I couldn't do them anymore. So I had to learn. Can you hear that? So I can do hand farts, and I'll do that when I'm around someone's little boy who's either puddling up or cranky or whatever. Gets them out of that funk right away, and they start giggling and then trying to do it. What do you mean you haven't started those peppers I sent you? How shame on you. So you had kind of a tumultuous childhood too, huh, Janet? We'll have to come up and share when I do the story on Grandma. Oh, that's great. That's great. We're about to cut ours out. They're done. All these people want Scotch bonnets. Oh, I'm about sold out. Yeah, maybe I did too. Maybe that's a good point. But I also am an only child. And on the days when the weather was too bad to go out and play with the neighborhood kids, and growing up in New England, there were a lot of inside play days, right? All I had were my creatures. So my mother had at one time 30 cats. Yes, 30 cats. So those were my companions, and I grew up on the side of a mountain, and I would hike through the mountain. And my grandfather, who eventually ended up moving in with us, he was divorced from my grandmother. So I had two divorced people living under the same roof, fighting all the time. But when he and I would take walks in the woods, blue jays and birds would come down, land on his head or land on his shoulder. So he was empathic and very good with animals too. So Janet's also an only child. Aren't we weird, Janet? Yeah. Oh, look at Mike's excuses. He's renovating every room in the house, crazy busy. I love you, Mike. Yeah, one of the things about this illness, this heart illness, is I'm so frustrated because I may wake up in the morning and feel pretty decent, and then I get up and I start walking around, or I walk to the greenhouse, or I go out and start pulling this weed or that weed. If I don't have to bend over, I have a hard time bending over. And then after like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I got to come in and sit down, and then I hurt the rest of the day. So everyone says, be patient, it'll come. We're supposed to go see the Rolling Stones on the 7th. And I've got the tickets up for sale because there's no way that I'm going to hike to the top of the stadium and be able to sit there and listen to the Stones and breathe the marijuana smoke. I just don't see it. So we're going to have to eat what we spent on those tickets if no one buys them. A rollator. I have a walker, but I walk too well to rely on the walker, so I end up carrying it, which causes my chest to hurt. So it kind of defeats its purpose. There's no seat on my walker. Exactly when you feel fine sitting still, but almost as soon as you get up, you feel tired, wiped out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the rollator, my mother had one toward the end of her life. Interesting comment, Mike. Just think being tired beats unable to do anything, or worse, 6 feet under. With my near-death experience, I don't fear being 6 feet under. That's the whole point. When I get done telling that story, maybe you won't be afraid of death either. It's not dying that scares me. It's what happens to the man I love when I go, if I go first. And I've told him I get to go first. He can't go and leave me alone, or I'll go live with Mike in his garage. A rollator rolls so you don't have to carry it. Well, the walker rolls too, kinda.
I'll rent her a wheelchair, maybe.
Charlie says he's going to rent a wheelchair. You're not renting a wheelchair to push me up to the top of that stadium,
If
Charlie.
you're in a wheelchair, they have to put you toward the bottom.
He says if I'm in a wheelchair, they'll put me towards the bottom, but they'll make you go up to the seats we paid for, and I'll end up sitting there staring at Mick Jagger's crotch, and I don't want to do that.
Well, you can always close your eyes.
Who wants to? He says I can always close my eyes. Who wants to stare at Mick Jagger in his 80s, his crotch? I don't. I chose seats that were high enough off the floor so that you could see the big TV screens, and that to me is almost better than being right down where you'll be with the jumping people, you know. Yeah, Janet, it's soothing and welcoming. I'm gonna have to do that for next month. You know what? I'll do it for July because my birthday is in July. And I will record the story. So God forbid something happens to me before it airs. I'll make sure that the story gets out. How's that? Is that a deal? Is that a deal? But please do share my premieres out, my broadcast out. Let's see if we can get more people in. I really would like people to feel comfortable enough to come up on the screen. Yay, David. Yes, I was saying it's so hard to find. I try to put the link in my announcement on the other channel, so you just have to click on it. Okay, so when you see the announcement come for the premiere and whatever, click on that and you can find my channel, and then of course you go to playlist and or to lives and click on that when the premiere's over. Let's see. You know, this is going to be our last chance to see Mick Jagger. He's older. He's older than dirt. So I guess if we don't go, I won't get to see him. And I don't like all the things that the Rolling Stones do, but I've rocked out to quite a bit of their stuff over the years. And walk down to exit. Okay. That's an interesting topic for that story, Janet. So I hope you're able to join us when I do tell it, and that we get a chance to do a live broadcast on it.
Okay. You missed.
Yeah, David, I don't think I'm going to feel well enough for the concert. I really don't. It's next Friday, Charlie?
Not tomorrow, but Friday.
Not tomorrow, but Friday after tomorrow. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm supposed to be cleared to go back for work, but there's no way I'm going to stand on that hard floor at Home Depot and work for 4 hours at a time. I'm lucky to stand up for 20 minutes when people come to buy my plants, and I get totally worn out. So, David, what's your favorite Stones tune? Can't always get what you want.
But you can always get what you need. But if you try real hard,
Well, thank you for subscribing.
get what you need.
We have a new subscriber. David subscribed. Hey, if you're not already subscribed, please do. Please give me that thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, which will make me easier to find. And again, I'm only doing these stories once a month, and I'll do a premiere, and then we'll go into live chat like we did tonight. And if you don't see me, then you know something's happened, and you can, I don't know how anyone would reach Charlie to ask what happened, but if I disappear, you know why. Wild Horses is good. Start Me Up. Jumping Jack Flash. What else? Oh, there's so many good stones. Faraway eyes, yeah. What do you think of his new stuff that he's just releasing? Shattered. Let's see. Talk to your doctors about your problems. You clearly will not be able to return to retail right now. I know. I might have to do that, Suzanne. And I just hate it. I hate not being able to function. You know? Sympathy for the devil. You know who else I might want to see, but I don't know if he's coming to the United States. He may have been banned as Pink Floyd. He's been campaigning pretty hard for Palestine, which makes him my hero. But I think he's been banned because of his political position. Painted Black. It is good writing. It is good writing. So I want to thank everyone who came tonight to the premiere and to this live broadcast. If you missed the premiere, feel free to run it. It's not very long. It's what, 11 minutes, Suzanne? It just basically goes over my experiences. And one takeaway I'd like to give, especially the women who are with us or women who are listening, is we experience pain differently than men do. And the symptoms I had were none of the sharp pain in the left arm or the convulsing of the chest muscles. I didn't have any acute pain at all. I had problems breathing, and it was over the course of several years, often touched off by weather. If I walked into the cold, I'd start coughing, and I could feel my bronchia convulse. And 13 minutes maybe. I had some pain in my shoulder, between my shoulder wings. But again, I do so much physical work moving heavy objects that I figured I had just moved wrong, or lifted something that was too heavy, because it would go away. I would ask Charlie to rub my back, and he'd rub my back, and I'd feel better. And in my mind, a heart attack is something constant and acute, right? So evidently I was feeling this for several years, and my physician would keep giving me inhalers. And I asked him several times to look at my heart, because of my dad dying of a coronary at 40. And he kind of poo-pooed me, didn't he, Charlie? It's like he would not take that seriously. So on one hand, I'm a little upset with him, figuring had he tested my heart out a few years ago, like before COVID, maybe we could have put a stent in at that time instead of having to go through the surgery. But, it's too late now. Is she having, are the doctors saying that she's having some signs of heart problems, Mike? Did she get an echocardiogram? So it makes me wonder, had we seriously pursued my symptoms instead of calling them seasonal allergies, a few years ago, if I'd be better off today. And I'm scared. I am scared that my heart's going to give out. And Charlie thinks I'll be around to torment him for years. And we can hope that I'm here to torment him. If you look at the color of my lips, I'm pink. And that's a lot pinker than I have been for a long time. If you go back into my earlier videos where I don't have lipstick on. This has just been a really and you're going to think I'm weird. You probably already do, but it was traumatic experience. But part of me that is always curious finds it interesting, and the whole process interesting. Painful, exhausting, exasperating, but interesting too. So Mike, tell Mrs. Mike that I wish her love and light and healing, and that if she does have a problem, not to be afraid of getting it fixed, but she wants to get it fixed before it goes to the point of open heart surgery like mine did, and this is no fun. Yeah, always curious. That's me. Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, because Mike, I've never really had the acute pain. This surgery hurts more than my symptoms did. And I'm like, so much pain. My muscles through here, leading up to the surgical, let's see, on either side of this scar, the muscles, I almost feel like I've got plates of plastic from about right here all the way down to under my breasts, around my middle like a belt. And people who have been through the surgery say that's because of all the different layers of stitches pulling my ribs back together. Because, you know, when they operate on you, they open your chest like that. And you've got to heal. The rib cage, the muscles, everything have to re-knit. And whereas it'll heal on the surface, and I'm pretty much healed on the surface, I still have some scabs that need to come off. I'm still not healed underneath, and that's why I need to be careful and stop thinking that I can do things and I'll lift something up or I bend over, and then I spend the next few hours or even the next day sitting on the couch doing this, literally with this heart pillow they give you to hold. And I still have to sleep on a recliner with a pillow on my chest in order to be able to sleep. Yeah, that sounds like me. My heart would race and flutter, and then it would get slow again and race and flutter. And I chalked that up, Mike, to acid reflux. You've heard me on my videos on the other channel talk about acid reflux and not being able to eat this or that. Well, you know what? Since my heart surgery, I can eat, and I don't have any acid reflux. So all those were symptoms of my heart failing that, you know, diabetics feel pain differently as well. But you women, you girls listening to me, please, if you have anything like this, be very firm with your doctor and say, check my heart out, especially if you're menopausal age. Okay? Because that's when your system starts going kablooey. Cough is trying to reset the heart. I didn't know that was trying to reset the heart. Well, that makes sense. I think about it. Yeah, isn't that the truth, Suzanne? You go to the doctor with a complaint and you get there and it disappears. It's like whatever it is that's causing the problem sees the doctor and says, I'm going to behave now. But I think my doctor is now taking me seriously, because the last appointment we had about 10 days ago, Charlie, he had a resident or an intern from the medical college come in and talk to me, and he told him that I was one of the very few of his patients that was really in tune with my body and able to describe things that were going on that most other people didn't even notice. And I said, yeah, well, thanks for taking me seriously with my coughing and my heart concerns, you know. Yeah, but you know what, Mike? If you go to the hospital or with the medical professionals nowadays, you really need someone else as an advocate, because you're not going to always be able to articulate what's going on. Wow. Well, let me teach you about this, but I'm not going to take you seriously when you say, oh, look, I'm not normal. That sounds about right. Was it a male teacher? Yeah, well, a lot of them have what I call the God complex, and they want to be worshipped. And a lot of them don't like you asking questions. They want you just to accept what they have to say and not probe it. Yeah, Suzanne, so how did that turn out? Did you end up in surgery? No. Well, even though we're not talking about supernatural tonight, I think we're having a beneficial conversation. What do you all think? Yeah, things tend to clear up the minute you get to the doctor's office. And I tell you what, when I was in that emergency room, that first one, and I fully expected them to walk in with a inhaler and hand it to me, and instead I got you've got heart damage. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I think part of me shut down at that point because I didn't react emotionally to any of this. Did I, Charles? I was just kind of like, okay. Really? Yeah. So, girls, what are we going to do with men not taking us seriously, huh? My best friend who lives in Alabama, she was my editor for many years, started with the New York Times with me, and then she moved to South Florida and convinced me to move to South Florida. And I worked at both the newspapers she ended up working at there. But she told me when she moved to Alabama and I moved to Georgia that to retire, both of us, that the men in this part of the country, I don't know if this is true nationwide or worldwide, but a menopausal woman has lost her value, and therefore they're not concerned about our health. And we could die for all they care because we can't have children anymore, so we're not really worthy of any effort. And it's kind of a depressing way to think. But when you look at, and here I am getting political, the way the country is moving, restricting a woman's right to her own body and her own health care, mostly being passed by men, there's got to be some truth to that. How do you all feel about that statement? Yeah, maybe I did. Maybe just kind of like, don't get too overly excited about it and cause yourself more damage, right, Suzanne? You may have had a ghost poke you somewhere, Mike. You just haven't recognized it. Yes, things like the squirrels lead me to believe in nature, extrasensory stuff. Those of us that are tuned into the animal world or the natural world, I think, are more empathic than people who are firmly rooted in the material world. If you think about it, and you learn to read body language with the animals, and some of us will carry that over to dealing with humans. If you do a lot of farming or work in your garden, you start to notice things like the wind blowing a certain way with the leaves on the trees turning inside out. That usually means rain's coming. The trees will do that when the rain's coming. Or you see ant nests when they build. Now you're gonna be looking for this now. The ants will build a ridge around their hole if we're about to get a lot of rain, because that ridge keeps the water from going down into the hole and encourages it to fall off the ant mound. So now you're going to look for those, right? If you live near water, the turtles will build their nests up higher and a little bit further from the edge of the water to lay their eggs. That will tell you you're going to have a lot of rain and a lot of flooding that year. So, you learn to read these things. Gaslight women of all ages, Lisa. Yeah, they do, but it gets worse when you get older. I don't know how old you are, Suzanne, but I've really noticed a difference after 50 in the way the medical profession treats us. Oh, I don't know, Mike. I am crazy. Craxy. I'm proud of it. I didn't either, Janet, but Monica did. And she's got probably 7 or 8 years on me. So she says, and you live in the deep South, Lisa, the men really won't value you after a certain age. And I'm saying I can see it. There's another thing popping up, someone wanting peppers. I get these alerts. I could have sold out the peppers 4 times already. And then he's I'm not answering them, so they're pinging me. Mike, how do your critters let you know that storms are coming? I don't know that they ever value us, just less after a certain age. That's depressing. That's a depressing thought, Janet. That's a depressing thought. They frenzy for food, otherwise they're chill at the feeder. That's an interesting observation. That's an interesting observation. What do you think, Charlie? You're awful quiet tonight. He's sitting over there with his cat. And you all heard about boys and their dogs. This is the boy and his cat. Knocking on the door, demanding food. We have the hummingbirds in this area will come. The windows are right here leading to the front yard, and I've got bird feeders outside the window to watch while I work. And the hummingbirds, when they come back, they migrate away from here in the winter. Then when they're back, they come hover at the window and look at me, and they know I'm the one that feeds them, right? So yeah, they can be demanding, like, come feed us. So yeah, animals let you know. So I want to thank you all for coming in, and we've discussed all sorts of controversial and interesting topics. People are making comments on the premiere. I keep getting notifications. I'll have to go read what those are. But thank you all for coming. I love each and every one of you. Please, if I get no other message across to you, is take your health seriously. Take the health of your wife seriously. Tell the people you love that you love them every day, every chance you get, even if you're mad at them. It's all right to say, I am so freaking mad at you right now, but I do love you. It's hard to say when you're angry, but don't ever go to bed angry, because you really may never know when the next time you'll see each other will be. No, Mike, no honey in hummingbird water. The only thing that should be in hummingbird nectar is sugar and water, and the ratio is 1 part sugar to 4 parts water, and you dissolve the sugar in the water, That's all you need. Don't put any dye in it. The dye is not good for the hummers. Don't give anything raw honey except yourself. No children under 3. And if you have like a jar of honey and you've got that last dregs in there and you can't get rid of it, put the honey jar outside and let the bees will come clearing it out for you. Just make sure they can get back out of the jar. Always good to see you, Mike. Always good to see all of you. Janet, Suzanne, David. So I should be live on the other channel next Thursday. It'll be the first Thursday of the month. I've got to come up with an idea. I got to start having guests on my lives. And if you have any suggestions on who to have as a guest, let me know and I'll extend an invitation. And next month, last Thursday of the month, we're back here. And hopefully some of you will develop some bravado and come up on the screen with me and talk about your own experiences. It'd be wonderful to have someone up on the panel. And so, love you all. See you soon, hopefully. Bye now. That sounds good, Janet. I'll reach out to them. Hopefully they'll see this and say, yeah, hell yeah, have me up there. Okay. Huggles, everybody. Bye.